Hey friends, it's me, the Ebony Otaku, the well-rounded nerd, and welcome back to Warhammer 30K 101 while I paint. I'm actually really enjoying this. It's been a good time. Just to remind everyone, I'm painting these things for NashCon. This is scenery, and I've got two other sets of scenery like this, and I'm painting that all came from the same creator. Actually, let me shout out the sculptor of this. One second, because I am printing to give away, not sell, give away, what I print for NashCon, and I found a really good sculptor who has done some really great epic scale scenery. Let me go into my bamboo account and collections. This is from the Terrain Atelier. Atelier or Atelier? Atelier. Um, Very good sculpts. I'm printing them on a bamboo A1 mini. I'm actually about to fire up. After I get some dry brushing done on these, I'm going to go fire up my bamboo A1. I need to swap out the nozzle on it. The nozzle is not quite. Something's happened with the nozzle cap where it's not gripping the way it should, and it is annoying me. So I need to take the nozzle head apart and I need to put a different nozzle on it, and I also need to replace the nozzle cover. So there's always something when you have a 3D printer. But this set of scenery has all of its base painting done. But what I want to do now is start dry brushing to get the details to pop. So we're going to go for the stonework first to make details look really, really good. You can see in here where it's brick, I've done kind of like a red on the inside and then come to the out. All of this was done in the last video with airbrush, but now it's time to, get a little bit further into it. I've not really done scenery like this before. This is new for me. My husband does a lot of scenery like this. So I am learning from him. This is my Artist Opus palette that I'm using here. This is the dry palette that we got when we took the class with them, and that was a fantastic. Oh my goodness! If you're going to spend money on any class at Adepticon, take that Artist Opus dry brushing class. Hi, babies. What's babies doing? My doggy. This is Charles. His full name is Charles Xavier Wu. Are you Charlie Wu? Charlie Wu? Are you the Woo Woos? He's the Woo Woos. Um, Anywho, but yeah, like this is the one to spend money on. These are the brushes that came with that class. The class wasn't cheap. Class cost money. But what I learned about how to use this set of brushes well and get the results that I'm trying to get, like invaluable information. So I'm actually going to use two different air brushes, two different dry brushes today. And I got a picture with the whole group of the guys too. That actually flex. I mean, my husband got a group picture. I love that they give you brush soap in this kit. This kit specifically they put together for the class. I got my husband every Artist Opus brush as a gift a few years ago. And this is, of course, the wet sponge for your brush. And I'll show you what that's all about. I'll get set up to paint here, then we'll get back into the Warhammer 101. What this is for is I'm actually going to just use my finger to put literally a drop of water on there. That's it. That's all it needs. You don't want your brush to get over wet at all. And then also when it comes to getting paint out of these G-Dubs pots, that's what a brush like this is for. It's a loading brush. And one of the things we learned was up here on your palette, which you won't see me mixing color because my face is there. But this is where a lot of the work happens, is in the mixing and getting the color that you want. Never thought about that before. And then, of course, wiping the brush off until you really get it dry, and then you apply it to your model. So I'm going to use, I always pick a piece I'm kind of going to use as my reference point. Obviously, this is going to get agraxed, and then dry brushing will commence. I haven't decided on Nuln oiling yet because this is a lot of material. So I'd have to use basically for all three of the sets that I'm printing, probably a whole pot of Nuln oil. Like I did on the planes that I printed for Aeronautica for the group. After I rattle canned them with, what's it called? Ultramarine blue. It's not called ultramarine blue, though. My brain just left. Starts with the M. McCrag. McCrag blue. I did go in and do a wash with ultramarine blue. Those are not the same blue, but I needed, because there's a little bit of ribbing, because it's 3D printed, I really needed color to make sure it got down in the recesses. And with the spray can, can't always guarantee that. So, like if you look on the bottom here at this color, and then top, there's a little bit of a contrasting difference. Like there's almost a purpley hue to this now, but I'll get to that when I paint those. Oh, I thought I heard the door. So this one will teach me how I'm going to dry brush the rest of this. So these are like stone columns, and I've done some airbrushing on these. But I was using ink. So it soaks the ink. It takes a lot of layers to make ink do what you want. So we're going to start treating these columns. So I'm going to get my earthy set of colors out. Let's see here. I've got my AKs. I have a Citadel earthy colors. Where are they? Nope, those are brushes. I have a makeup kit down here. Those are skin tones. Not using that. Those are neon pastels that I use to keep paints in. That's not quite what I want. I might actually go with some AK mixing. I don't use the AKs very much, and I probably should, because they're really good paints. AK has good coverage. We use AK, Pro Acryl, G-Dubs. We use all the paint. I have mixed up my paints, and the paint I'm looking for, I'm realizing now I don't know where it is. Might be in my skin tones box. Rhinox hide. I got a couple of Rhinox hides, which this may actually help me. So we'll take the Rhinox base out. And oh, you know what? I mixed a lot of those earthy tones in with my metallics. That's why I couldn't find it. I didn't realize I did that. All right, so Rhinox hide. Let's take a look in this box. I'm gonna raise this light a little bit so y'all can see a little more. I think I'm gonna go with some reds. Let's get some Word Bearers layer out. Let's see here. I think I have an open. I'm looking for the open versions of these before I open new ones. No, I don't want the retributor base. Silver layer. Some of these I'm going to have to mix up a little bit. Lead Belcher base. I feel like I've got an open Lead Belcher. That's Iron Warriors. Iron Warriors is actually better than Lead Belcher for this. Iron Breaker. These, yeah. Iron Breaker. I'm not going to use Mephisto in red. Ooh, Balthazar I'm probably going to use. Some of these I have not been into for a while, so she's going to have to do some shaking, but it's good to get in here and use these paints that haven't been used. Are these two? I have two open Iron Breakers. Ooh, I've got to use those. Let's see here. This is what I want. Castellax Bronze. And then we're going to use some Liberator Gold to get colors that I want. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put these back. Now I've got my white. And let's see here. Are these all washes? Aha! A bad and black. Need that for sure. Not going to use Wraithbone. And let's get a Corax white. Ooh, Doomfire Magenta. I'm not going to use this, but I think that'll work. All right. We're being earthy. All right, put those back. All right, so I've got the colors I'm going to use, and I'm going to do some dry brushing, and we're going to get back into Warhammer 101 30K. Line up my paints to decide what I want. Why didn't you do this before the video? I don't know. Because I do my hobbies in real time to show you how long it really takes. A bad and black will stick over here. Just trying to make it where I can see all these colors easily. All right, good deal. And don't need my little mixie pad. Put that back here. All right, so now we're going to start making this better. I'm going to use my smaller one here. Now, I'm not using the brush just yet. I'm going to be pulling paints out of the pot for the purpose of mixing. So I'll be mixing some paints while I talk about Warhammer. And look at that. Oh, that's bad. It's bad. We're going to clean some pots while I talk about Warhammer and save some paint. Where's my thinner? Ah, thinner. thinner. Thinner shaker balls in the shaker are going to save my paint. I have like 5 of these, but because I did a Titan in Warbearers Red back before I knew that that red came in a rattle can. I airbrushed it. I made airbrush paint. But yeah, it's a whole thing. Anywho, so where did we leave off? Oh, yes. We left off. The Emperor has decided that his favorite son, Horus, is going to be in charge of all his other brothers. Now, children, let's talk about that. When you leave the favorite kid in charge of the other kids, how does that usually work out? Not great. Not great at all. Also, at the time that Horus is left in charge of all his other brothers as the war master to prosecute the Emperor's wars in his name across the galaxy. At the same time, a member of Horus's inner circle, the Mordenval, his closest advisors, which really they're his pep squad, but we're going to call them advisors, has passed in battle, which is the only way for a Space Marine to grow. Very clean on of them. But because of that, there was an opening, and a new member is inducted, and that is Garviel Loken. And Garviel Loken is, basically the ideal Space Marine. He's extremely loyal to the Emperor. He's extremely loyal to Horus. And he wants to do things the way that the Emperor has them laid out. You also have to remember that in 30K, things like religion are outlawed. They believe in science. Religion's not a thing in 30K. I know, but in 40K, this ain't 40K. This is 30K. This is before all that. This is how they got there. So the Emperor is like, we don't mess with chaos. We don't mess with the warp. We don't mess with psychics. We don't mess with religion, except for Mars. They can worship the machine god because they make the bullets. So are we caught up? Yes. So Horus is now in charge to prosecute his father's war in his name, which good for him. The thing you got to remember though is with these Primarchs, even though I keep saying it over and over, the Space Marines and Primarchs are barely human, but still human, and in the ways that human can have foibles and pitfalls and flaws, the Primarchs and Space Marines have them too. I think it was to the Emperor's detriment that he didn't realize that no matter how careful he was in crafting his perfect warriors, the most perfect among them was still human at their core. And part of the beauty of being a human is that we grow, we learn, we change, we have experiences. But because of the scattering of the Primarchs and them all growing up on separate planets, they've all been socialized in very different ways. They all have different traditions, different values. I mean, Lorgar, one of the most extreme of them, he grew up on a world that was very religious, that was already worshiping chaos gods, knew about them, was all into it. And they basically swapped out worshiping chaos for worshiping the Emperor. They just swapped gods. They just wanted something to worship. There we go. All right, got that out, so now it'll shut properly. But Horus, he's got in his legion some goings on called lodges. And what the lodges are groups of battle brothers who basically are like in secret fraternity together. And in those fraternities, they've got bonds deeper than just being battle brothers. But a lot of those lodges are dipping their toes over into chaos. They are. He gonna bark in every video. Why are you barking at him? It's his house too. So we're gonna drop some thinner in here to get paint back. Too much thinner. And now we're going to give it a shake. I'm not going to shake it. I need to get that out so I could close it tightly. So now it can go on the shaker. But the lodges, Horus overlooks the existence of the lodges and just lets it happen. Because if his sons, the sons of Horus, formerly the Luna Wolves, are fighting well and prosecuting the war effectively, I don't care. And Horus himself has actually, been introduced to these lodges. He's been around. He's not he's not an ignorant general. He knows. And when Garviel Loken gets inducted into the Morninval, his little group of advisors, and learns that the lodges exist from Horus Aximond and Ezekiel Abaddon, who are also part of this core four. He's a little taken aback. He's like, are we sure about this? Garviel Loken does not know that Horus knows about the lodges. He approaches Horus about these lodges after he's invited to a lodge meeting. Goes, oh, this is not what All-Father the Emperor intended. And he says, hey, not Hor. Hey, Horus, do you know about this? This bad. And Horus is basically like, look, Garvey. A lot of them call him Garvey. Look, Garvey, if everyone's happy and no one's being a butt, I don't care. Let it go. Garviel's not going to let it go. But that's where we are with Loken. In the book Horus Rising, Horus has not fallen to chaos yet. It's going to happen. That's what 30K is all about. That's why it's called the Horus Heresy. He is the central character in 30K. It's him versus Dad. But remember, he's the favorite son. Yeah, you ever tell your parents, if you're not the favorite kid, because I wasn't the favorite kid, you ever tell your parents that the favorite kid has done something wrong? Who did your parents blame? Not the favorite. It couldn't have been them. Here's what I learned from Artist Opus is when you are using your dry brush, this is how you load paint. You use a brush to scoop the paint out that you're going to use. I may have made this a little bit too thin. And then put it up here. Scoop, scoop, scoop. It's a little too thin, but that's okay. For the purpose of dry brushing, it'll be fine. And clean out brush immediately. Don't let brush stay in paint water. Awesome. And dry it because I'm going to use it again soon. All right. So what I would ordinarily do is the paint would be a little drier than it is right now. I would take the brush and dip it in here to wet the bristles like that. It doesn't take much to get the bristles wet. But then now what you don't want is paint soaking all the way in to your dry brush. You're not helping me, Charles. Here to get the color that I want, making sure it's what I want, because I actually want the red here to be pretty bold, so I'm kind of glad it's done. And then, once I make sure it's not destroying my brush, we're going to come in here and start dry brushing in here. All right. See how it's coming off the brush? I'm just checking to see if it's what I want. And it is. All right, let's do it. There we go. And it's doing good. So Horus is already demonstrating that he is susceptible to doing things he shouldn't. And that is one of the Emperor's biggest follies throughout the entire Warhammer lore. He puts so much trust in what he's created that he can't conceive that his creation would betray him. Least of all, the one that's the favorite, the one he loves the most. But that's why it's always surprising when people are surprised that humans human. Humans are going to human. It doesn't matter if people have the best quote-unquote home life. These brushes are newer, so you're going to see bits of them fly off. That's totally okay, because they're being used, and as they get used, they'll get pounded down into evenness over time. Look at that. So here's side 1, side 2. See how that one's a little bit duller? There's red back there, but not red enough. Yeah, there we go. I made the right choice. The Emperor simply cannot conceive that his creation would betray him. The Emperor, even though he is the longest lived human, it seems like, having been around humans for so long and being so old, that to an extent I would say that the Emperor has lost his own humanity. He doesn't recognize humans for what they are, the best of them and the worst of them. And it is that misunderstanding that ultimately leads to the seeds of treachery being planted, of treachery being possible in the Warhammer universe. because he couldn't see it coming. Not his creation, not his son, not Horus, not my Space Marines. Never. Yeah, can happen to anybody. No one's above it. Set that down. There we go. Making sure. Okay. Making sure I don't overload the paint. There we go. All right. I'm going to pull this down through here a little bit. I also learned that if you wash your dry brush, you got to wait at least 24 hours before you got to do it again. Because it's supposed to be dry. That's like literally the point. And there shouldn't be paint all through the bristles like this. Yeah, take the Artist Opus class. You will not regret it. Come back here and give this another go. There we go. Now, Horus, when he takes over as War Master, is celebrated by the majority of his brothers. There's some that don't care. Angry Ron, I'm looking at you. Angron don't care. Angron don't care. You know, most of his brothers are like, Daddy made a good choice. Yay, Dad. Yay, Horus. What are they going to do? Have open resentment? No, absolutely not. You can't do that. But most of them are like, yeah, Horus, he is the best of us. Horus should be the representative. But some of the Primarchs and some of the Legionaries are like, wait a minute, we're in the middle of this war that he said is so important, and he's disappearing back to Terra, because that's why the Emperor leaves Horus in charge, is so he can run back to Terra, to his palace in the Himalayan mountains, and do what, the Himalasian mountains, and do whatever it is the Emperor is up to. What is the Emperor up to? He's not telling them at this time. Are you going to find out eventually? Read more lore. So some of the Primarchs, some of the generals are suspicious of the Emperor and what he is up to, and why he can't be present for the prosecuting of his own war. This is where the lodges become super dangerous to the war, to Horus, to the Imperium of Mankind, because the lodges aren't isolated to Horus's legion. They aren't isolated to the Sons of Horus. They're not isolated to the Luna Wolves. They are all over the legions, and some of the legions have inter-legion connections through those brotherhoods. The one that comes to mind the most, and you know who I'm about to talk about here, old Fabulous Bile and Erebus. Why do they know each other the way they do? Erebus is a chaplain over in the Word Bearers, and he's kind of the starting point. We'll get to him later. He's kind of the starting point of a lot of the heresy, like a lot of the heresy. Actually, no, we're going to go ahead and go there. Let's pause on Horus and jump to another part of heresy. Let's talk about the Word Bearers, because the Word Bearers are really where a lot of the seeds of heresy come from, and from that legion comes the fall of Horus, ultimately. So when we talk about chaos, chaos is kind of a neutral evil. Or a neutral, if you would. Like, you know, when you play D&D and other games, you have to choose, like, are you chaotic good, chaotic evil, neutral good, neutral evil, that kind of thing. That's actually a psychological testing to see, like, where you fall on the chaos spectrum, basically. I studied it in school when getting one of my degrees. I forgot. I didn't study psychology. I had to take psychology classes, but I wasn't studying to become a psychologist. But we all had to learn about it. At different levels and write about it and stuff, but that's not a game thing. That's psychology theory, that's very useful when designing characters, especially in a role-playing sense. Chaos itself, the beings that live in the warp, they are existing. They don't see themselves as good or evil. They don't push themselves into the material world. They're just out there doing chaos stuff. If you knock on their door, if you come and kick their door down, Emperor, they're going to kick back. But they're just happy being chaos in the warp. They're good with it. The Emperor himself knows everything about chaos. Why is my phone ringing? It's my husband. Hey, babe. I'm good. I'm painting and recording a video. Maybe. But I'm doing pork chops for dinner. Is that good with you? Yeah. Whenever you call me, you end up being part of the video for a little bit. They can't, well, they can't hear you because I'm talking to you on my phone headphones. They can only hear me. But, oh, it might be my vitamin E oil I got from the Wally World. But I will, okay, well, it's finally quit raining, I think, so, yeah. So, you heading, okay, you heading to D&D? All right. Well, y'all have fun. All right. I'm dry brushing scenery. I'm dry brushing scenery and talking about the Horus Heresy. Emperor protects. Except the War Master, yes. Oh, look at you learning 30K lore. Yay! Love you. Bye. Am I going to edit that out? No. It's part of my life. Real-time hobbies, y'all. Real-time hobbies. Oh, this is looking good. I'm kind of loving it. This is actually making me very happy. It's amazing what a little dry brushing will do. So good. Where was I? Okay. So we've paused Horus for now. We're going to come back to him. Lorgar's Legion is the reason Horus fell. So old Arabai is over in, wait a minute, is he an apothecarian or a chaplain? I think he's a chaplain. I have to go back and look. Somebody will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about his position. Anyway, he's in Lorgar's Legion, the Bearers of the Word. Lorgar comes from a very interesting world. When the scattering of Primarchs happened, Lorgar landed on a planet that was very much pro chaos. They didn't call it chaos, though. They called them ancient gods. So he landed on a world that was heavily religious. And when the Emperor landed on that planet with Horus to take it over, rather than stopping religion as the Emperor has ordered, Lorgar shifts the worship of the people of his planet from old ancient chaos gods to the Emperor. Obviously, the Emperor is the god of the gods. Let's worship him. He comes from a culture that must worship. That's what they do. Okay, he stayed asleep. Heard the automatic door lock. Son came in and out, and that's what he barks at, is the sound of the door, which I'm okay with because that's why I have an 80-pound dog. But that's not what the Emperor wanted for any of his legions. Yes, I joke about Mars being able to do what they want because they make the bullets, but that's really the truth of the lore. Mars and the Mechanicum worshiping the machine spirit, he lets that go because they make everything everyone uses. They research the technology, they validate technology. They don't invent anything. They're just out there making sure the tech that's being used or old tech is being used the right way. And if it's dark, chaos infected technology, they lock it away for humans not to know about. But I don't think the Emperor put it in the equation when he was out searching for his sons, that some of them may have already been pre-exposed to things that he has decreed in the Imperium are a no. Taking a population that is religiously focused and making it not that way is nigh on impossible. Even in cultures around the world today that maybe they say we are a non-religious, you can think of some dictatorships and stuff, there are still pockets of people who cling to old ways, that are clinging to like one country that I think, well, no, I'm not going to talk about other people's countries right now. That's not what we're talking about. But there are examples like that in the world today where, maybe the national position is we're not religious, but the people's behavior would tell you otherwise because traditions die hard. It's hard to let go of what you've always done and always been, and asking people to do that is kind of stupid, in my humble opinion. Like, you're not making people let go of thousands of years of history just because it's not really something that is viable. But the emperor, that is his decree. But Lorgar is a Primarch that is able to prosecute his wars with the least amount of bullets. He's a diplomat. He really is a diplomat supreme. What he does is he goes to these planets and preaches the good word of the emperor, sets up places of worship, establishes rules. Lorgar actually writes the Warhammer Bible, the Lectitio Divinitatis. Pause. Part of the reason I love Warhammer and like Tolkien, why I've read the Silmarillion more than once. Yeah, she's weird. Why I love like Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens is my favorite author of all time, second and only by Amy Tan. Lisa C is right behind them, and Anchi Min. Oh, the reason I love books like that is there is this highfalutin, flowing language that I just love in my literature. Like I love Grimm's fairy tales because they are written in a way that just appeals to my inner snob. And titles of books called things like Lectitio Divinitatis. I like that. I like it a lot. So anyway, that has nothing to do. But Lorgar actually writes the book that in 40K will become basically the sacred text. But in 30K, that is heresy. That's why it's called the Horus Heresy. It's that you can't do that. We ain't worshiping nothing in this version of history. That's not why we're here. That's not what we're here to do. Does Lorgar care? Oops, that was too much. I didn't brush off enough paint. Does Lorgar care? No. He does it in secret because he thinks one day his father will come around. He's not going to come around. But he thinks his father will come around one day. And when Lorgar is firing less bullets and honestly conquering less worlds, because the way the legions really get all these worlds into compliance is they bring the hammer down. Because when you show up with 70,000 mutant giants with blasters and lasers and everything else, most planets go, oh, you want yeah, we're in. You can have our taxes, you can have our land, you can have our planet. Just please let us live. Thank you, please and thank you. So that's how that goes. The planets that resist are brought into compliance. That means war. It is Warhammer after all. Um, Lorgar. This is another reason I rock with Lorgar. I've talked to y'all about why I rock with Fulgrim. Very similar to why I rock with Lorgar. Yes, I know they're both Chaos Legion. Blah, 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 blah. But Lorgar wanted to preserve as much human life as possible. Fulgrim was all about pre-chaosing, all about preserving what humans created. If we're not protecting what humans create, then what are we doing? Lorgar wants to protect humanity itself. And he would much rather convert people than mow them down with blasters. And you know what? I don't hate it. I don't hate it. The problem in terms of Warhammer rules and in terms of the Imperium of mankind is religion is outlawed, literally outlawed. Not being hyperbolic, the Emperor is our longest lived human that we know about, and he wants nothing of religion in his Imperium. Not interested, don't ask him. Does not want it there, is not going to agree with you. Don't ask. He gets word that Lorgar is not only the least successful of his Primarchs, but he's out here religioning. Lorgar has it in his head that one day the Emperor will accept his worship, because Lorgar has to worship something. That's how he was raised. I don't think sometimes we take into account how people are raised enough. I've actually had, and this is me getting slightly personal, but I've had people say to me, "You're too smart to believe in religion." I have my own reasons, but if you ever want to hear them, I'll tell them. I'll talk about religion. She will not talk about politics, though. That's just part of my channel. But that is kind of the Emperor's point of view. You're too smart. We are too smart. Science is too science for religion, which is why I don't need any of my boys believing in it. This is how you clean your dry brush. Not by taking it in water because I need to use it again. but literally wiping the paint off on the dry part of the palette. I know. Well, okay, an artist opus dry brush. I can't talk about every other dry brush out there because this here is a cheapy weepy dry brush, and it's stiff as a board. I don't know how to clean that one except with water. Anywho, but yeah, the Emperor gets word that Lorgar is not only the least successful of his sons, but practicing religion, practicing the worship of the Emperor, and the Emperor, as he lives, is not okay with that. So the Emperor pays Lorgar a visit with the majority of his brothers. He has Perturabo, the great builder amongst the Primarchs, erect a, let's see here. Yeah, this is what, yeah, this is what I want. He has him build a arena in which to have a conference. And the subject is going to be don't use chaos. Here's why. Perturabo is the builder of builders. He builds mazes, he builds coliseums, he builds cathedrals, he can build anything. His legion, every legion has a specialty, and Perturabo's legion, if you unleash them on a planet, they can basically reform it with buildings in like a day. It's crazy. There's a scene that I've read a couple of times on the channel from Angelix Dominultus, where Fulgrim wants to tell a story to Perturabo about the Angelix Dominultus, but wants a facility worthy of the story. So Perturabo literally builds like a 200,000 seat stadium and stage. I wonder if there were bathrooms in it. Where does space... Anyway. Is it in the suit? It has to be in the suit. He builds that for Fulgrim in like 12 hours. It's ridiculous what his legion can do. He builds a ship for Conrad Kurz, crazy Kurz, and Kurz, that's basically a labyrinth, and he ends up imprisoning Vulcan in that ship and torturing him over and over, chasing him through this labyrinth. Like, just, the legions are very specific in their talents. Again, you know, Games Workshop was very clever in the way that they did that, because everybody can find the legion they identify with. I'm getting this old gunky paint out of here so I can fix this paint. I'm not going to put as much thinner in this as I did the last one because I over-thinned that. Ew, look at that. Got it. This is old paint. I have not used this particular paint in a while. Yeah, now it should shut. Yep, it'll shut now. This is a dead needle, by the way. This is not one of my actual airbrush needles. That needle is bent at the tip. See that? And when they're bent at the tip, they're trash. So I use it for stuff like this and cleaning other airbrushes. All right, I'm going to drop a shaker ball in here. Where are my shaker balls? I'm going to drop in a shaker ball and a little bit of thinner this time. I over-thinned it last time. And get this ready for what I need it for. So he builds this, has a stadium built to bring all the Primarchs together to talk about how things are going to work in this Imperium, and specifically Chaos Bad. And Lorgar is the center of this. He basically chastises Lorgar at this event in front of all of the other Primarchs, especially Horus, about what he's done. And that don't do this again or there's going to be consequences. It's called the Council of Nicaea, which sounds very similar to Catholicism reference there to a council that happened as they were establishing the canon of Scripture. Poor Lorgar. That's embarrassing. You don't punish your least favorite kid in front of your favorite kid. It's not going to work. How do you think Lorgar reacted to that? Because he thinks he's doing well. Lorgar doesn't know he's going to this council to be chastised. And this happens before Horus becomes War Master, I believe. And then afterwards, Horus is War Master. But on his way to making Horus War Master and going home, he trots Lorgar out in front of the rest of the Primarchs and embarrasses him and says, you see what he's doing? Don't do that. And if you do it again, if any of y'all touches this religion thing, this chaos thing, any of it again, coming for you. Lorgar's humiliated. And that starts laying the seeds of treachery in Lorgar's heart. And in Lorgar's own legion, the Word Bearers, they bear the word. In the Word Bearers Legion, he already has those lodges in place Erebus is in those lodges. Erebus has already turned to chaos, and so have some others in the lodges. They're just waiting for their Primarch to get there, or there to be an opening to get the Primarch there. And that's why the Emperor, as smart as he's supposed to be, is also a stinking idiot. Because it's literally right under his nose all the time, and he doesn't see it. All he sees is, oh, they're practicing religion. He has no idea that all throughout every single legion, somewhere there's lodges. Maybe not in the Alpha Legion, but somewhere these lodges have made incursion, and there is an infection of acceptance of chaos going through, of psychic abilities that is meandering its way through, even in the legion of his favorite son, Horus. Not my favorite. It couldn't be my baby, not my baby. Anyway, because Horus is like a son unto him. Not all these other sons you made, apparently, just Horus. Um, Here he goes. So here's what you do. You scoop the paint out with a loading brush, and onto the palette it goes for use. The smallest things you learn end up being just the most important. Wash brush immediately. Don't let paint sit in it. Let it dry up right. This will be the last dry brushing I do in this video because it has to dry before I do the next. Because I'm going to be dry brushing big panels now, and I don't want to get fingerprints all in it. All right, so I'm going to put this brush to the side. I'm actually keeping my Artist Opus brush in its plastic tube when I put it up, because I want it to stay as beautiful as possible. All right, I'm not using this brush anymore. I'm using my big dry brush now. All right. So this one is super stiff. And this time, I do need this. I just need a drop of water. Actually, it's better to use the back of the brush to do this. Just a drop of water in there. That's it. And then, boom, that's it. And that'll help me load paint onto the brush. Just load a little paint. And now I'm going to see where I'm at. Yeah, that's good. That's what I want. All right, let's do this thing. Brushy, brushy. Brushy, brushy. I'm going to go up a couple layers from this. This is just the beginning. So Lorgar has to go back to his planet, tail between his legs, chastised in front of all of his brothers, and has to make a choice. He's either going to do what his father said, or he's not. In Lorgar's private opinion, the Emperor is God. The Emperor just doesn't know he's God yet. But the Emperor doesn't want my worship, and I'm going to worship something. And when you push someone away, what are they going to do? They're going to find they're going to find an outlet somewhere. And he does. The outlet he finds is the worship of chaos gods. He completely turns to chaos at that point. Remember, he already comes from a planet that is already worshiping. He just turned their worship from chaos to the Emperor. Well, now they're going back to chaos. But he kind of gives it one more college try before he goes full chaos. He kind of doubles down on Emperor worship. And the Emperor gets word again, and he sends Rabute, the Ultramarines, Rabute Gilliman. Rabute's the perfect brother that should have been Horus. That should have been the War Master. Things would have been real different had Rabute been the War Master, but whatever. He's got Imperium Secundus to worry about. That's a whole nother story. He sends Rabute to get a hold of Lorgar. Lorgar dispatches the Ultramarines to the surface to empty out the perfect city of Monarchia. My Titan's name is actually the Bane of Monarchia. He is the vengeful spirit that arose from the ashes of the perfect city to seek vengeance upon the sons of Rabute. Anyway, the Ultramarines drop down surface to Monarchia. It's the largest city on the planet. It is a perfect city. It's a religious focused city, worship of the Emperor, and they empty it out. because they bomb it from the sky. They blow it off the map, destroy it, flatten Monarchia. That does it. Lorgar's done with the Imperium at that point. Rabute is the guy. He is the most pro-emperor person that ever pro-emperored. He's like, you're doing what Dad said not do, and you know what? I never liked you anyway. Kabloom. he has no problem dropping that bombardment, and all the people of the world have to watch it happen, and they know why it happened, and Lorgar goes full chaos at that point. You can read about his story in the first Heretic, because the heresy, even though it's called the Horus Heresy, Horus didn't start the heretical behavior in the Legion. Did he turn an eye to the lodges? Yes, but it really started in the Word Bearers. And when Erebus sees that his Primarch is no longer of a mind to follow the Emperor, and that he is now open to basically chaos incursion and influence, he takes that as his chance, and all of the things begin to happen in terms of making plans to turn more legions to chaos, specifically to turn the War Master to chaos. They begin plotting how they're going to, they as in Erebus and his cronies, because honestly, I don't think Lorgar ever really wanted Horus to turn into a chaos demon. Well, I can't say that because it's what happens, but I think that Lorgar just wanted his brothers to realize how much he hurt, how much they hurt him. But in doing so, as half the legions fall to chaos over the course of the Horus Heresy, a lot of them realize that they have beef with old Dadums as well. It's just that Lorgar made them realize that they have that beef. They weren't thinking about it before. So now, Erebus, who has been chatting with other parts of the legions through the different chapters of lodges that are out there, they can now make plans to turn the War Master, like officially make plans. And they have a way that they're going to do it on a little moon called Davin. And that's where we're going to pick up next time that I do Warhammer 101, is going to be talking about how Horus is turned to chaos on a moon called Davin. We're going to talk about another Primarch called Magnus the Red and what he has to do with all of this. So I hope you're following, just talking about it while I paint. I'm kind of enjoying it. I am going to keep reading the lore out of the books, of course, because there's so much, and there's so much to remember. But this is just, the one-on-one for people who are getting into it. The other kind of videos where I get into the books, that's more for people who already know the lore, if that makes sense. But this, we are just learning together. But I'm going to finish dry brushing these and then go work on my 3D printer and then make dinner for my guys before I play some Space Marine 2. All right. It's looking good. It's starting to look more armory. I got more layers to dry brush on. But it's getting there. Well, I hope you're enjoying this. This video is almost an hour. She can talk. Ooh, she can talk. Join the Discord. I hope I'm going to be able to give away all this stuff that I'm painting, but we'll see. Get me to 7,500 subscribers by mid-August, and I want to give this away. In the meantime, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.